next part of my quest to reach Denbigh. Along the former railway from Mold and Chester we depart Rhydymwyn and continue west towards the quarries and brickworks at Hendre, before resuming our journey where we encounter the wonderfully restored Star Crossing Halt station. So Rhydymwyn station is not far over there behind this tree. This is the main road where the level crossing passed over, but walking a little bit around and I've managed to access the trackbed once more. This is our line heading towards Rhydymwyn and Mold, and it sort of bends round, and then this way we can follow the trackbed, and straight away stinging nettles, and also straight away, look at this, lots of ballast, hell of a lot of ballast. I don't know whether that's left over from the railway or it's been put down as hardcore because this is a footpath. Look at that, there is a hell of a lot of ballast there. Now remember, the railway here, I think the tracks were pulled up in the 1970s, early 70s, because remember the line went as far as Mold. The synthite worked up until 83. This area here was got rid of in the 70s, and look at the amount of ballast here. There is tons of it. I reckon that's a leftover from when our railway was here. Carrying on west of Rhydymwyn, we're slightly further on from where we were earlier, where I remarked about the ballast, and I must remark about it again because look at it all. This can't possibly be put down purely for a footpath. This has to be a remnant of the railway line. Look at it, it's everywhere. There's a small wooden post there, I wonder what that was for. And then if you look down there, we've got the original boundary markers. Note we're on a slight embankment here. It's like being at work walking on ballast, this is. So, oh, I've just seen something hidden away in the tree there. That was a good spot. Just quickly. See it there? A cable carrier. Shed a bit of light on that maybe. Ow. There you go. Still in pretty good nick as well. That's the first one of those I've seen for a while. I wonder if there'll be any more. And the ballast just continues. Then we'll have to have a look at when this track was actually lifted here. Oh, what have we got down there? That's just a bit of metal grating. Yeah, I'm gonna have a look at when this track was lifted, I think, because I'm sure it was 1975 when the line to the MOD site of Valley Works was lifted, but this ballast looks much more recent. I'll take a look at this. We have one of these markers. Now this would have been situated between the sleepers. Do you remember we saw this, if you watch my Didcot, Newbury and Southampton Railway video, we saw some of these, but they were completely taken out of the ground and placed at the bottom of the embankment. So you'd have a good 2 feet of concrete going down into the ground, as though they would have been placed between the sleepers. I think they're distance markers of some description. I originally thought that they were placed at a chain's length, but I don't think that's the case because they're too close together. Remember, 80 chains to a mile on the railway. It's the old imperial measurement still used. Let's see if we can find another one. So there's that one there, and in fact, yep, there's another one there. So that's surely not one chain, because a mile would be very quick. Any more? Yep, there's one there. So that's 3 in the space of just a few yards, really. and there's another one. As I say, I used to think they were chain markers, but I'm not sure now. I really don't know what they are. If anyone could tell me, I'd really appreciate that. And in the trees, I've just noticed a rather broken concrete bunker. Remember, we saw one back by the Valley Works, I think it was, used for like a sandbox, so as when low adhesion occurred, you could put some sand on the rails to give some adhesion to the train. And next to it is another, not in as good condition, cable carrier. So we found some good, oh look at this. And we've also got a tension debris going into the ground, so you'd have had a cable rising up there, normally attached to telegraph poles to keep them upright. No sign of a telegraph pole, but I think that's what that must have been. And of course, still lots and lots of ballast. I don't know, I've just seen something through the branches. Now look at that. We've got ourselves a lovely little bridge. So let's go over onto the upside so we can see the railings there poking through the trees, and I would have been standing on the upside pretty much here. Move over to the middle, so we'd have had our rails going through there, and on the other side of this large metal plate. On the downside it's much clearer. So I'm standing in what is known as the forefoot between the rails. So we had a rail there, a rail there. This is the downside. Trains heading to Denbigh. Then we've got this quite a clearance in what's known as a cess, and then we've got these lovely railings still in existence. Look at the tree that's grown around the railings. I'm going to go down here, see if I can see the bridge from the outside. Now this is going to be a bit tricky. I think I've managed it without losing a leg. Yep, there we go. So there's that bridge. In fact, I can get a little bit further away so we can get a slightly better shot. There you go. So that is a pretty good find. And I'm not sure that this is the original bridge, because you've got quite a bit of stonework here, look. There's some stonework in the stream, which I think is probably part of the original bridge, been replaced by brickwork on that side. But that's a pretty decent find. So let's make my way back onto the track bed. Ow! Stinging nails. These two photos taken by Roger Carvel show the line still in situ in 1974, which must have been part of the reinstated track for delivery of the oil pipelines at Coed. The second picture is the same piece of track from another angle, but spot the bridge railings. This is the bridge that I have just explored. So if we keep heading west slightly, we come to another notable point, which is no longer here. And it's an area that was known as Dolfechlas Crossing. My apologies if I've got that pronunciation wrong. So we'll just climb over this slight rise. So the line would have carried on across this road, carried on along there where the road goes. I don't think we can go there, it's like a stoneworks. So you'd have had a level crossing here, the line would have carried on over there, probably around where the caution ramp sign in these trees would have been a signal box. Unfortunately, there doesn't appear to be any sign at all today. The modern overhead from the National Library of Scotland gives very little away that a railway ever existed here. The area now crisscrossed with roadways supplying the nearby quarries, which, as we'll look at shortly, were once served by the railway. Overlaying the 1912 map clearly indicates the site of Dolfechlas crossing, and if we zoom in slightly, the location of the signal box becomes apparent. A short distance northwest of Dolfechlas crossing and we enter the historically industrial area of Hendre. And if we return to the National Library of Scotland map of 1912, a junction leading to sidings can be seen, which enabled rail access to the former Ruby brickworks. This photo by Roger Carvell of the curve towards Dolfechlas crossing, which we looked at earlier, clearly displays the chimneys of the brickworks, which by 1974, the date of this photo, had already ceased operating. Heading west, and the line shows another junction, this time into the Hendre limestone quarry, which is still in operation today. Alas, all stone is now transported by road. Returning to our explore of the main line though, and we'll have a look at the bridge, or former bridge I should say, crossing the A541 road here. So this is the A541. It's probably going to be noisy. Our line is coming in, it's tapering towards us, you can up there on that embankment, and it would have crossed exactly here, across the road over to that side. We've still got some evidence of the bridgelet, the brick foundations, the lower courses of the bridge are still there on the ground. So there's our embankment up there, so we'll have crossed diagonally and gone straight over there. You can see the embankment on that side. I don't know if there's anything left of the bridge. You can see a bit of stonework there. That's pretty much it, I think, for this side. So as our line disappeared into the trees back there, you can see the road loops round on a bend. The line came round on a bend to meet it approximately here, and where the bend, there's a slight straight bit there before it goes into another right hand bend, and here was another bridge over the main road, which would have took our line back over onto this side of the road. Today there is absolutely no evidence, not even any markings on the ground or foundations of where that bridge used to be, but its embankment is up there and it continues behind this dense vegetation. The National Library of Scotland modern overhead of Hendre's industrial area clearly shows the two rail crossings over the A541. But first, it's worth noting the sidings to the north, which served the limestone works. The first bridge crossing here is where I found the brick foundations on the footpath. The route then heads into a short but deep cutting where the line quadruples to allow access to a junction heading south and two further sidings serving another quarry, which it would appear were removed in the first decade of the 20th century. Then we have the second bridge where the trackbed is accessible on the western side, and it's there that we'll pick up the action. From that crossing where the line comes back over the A541, I've managed to access the Coed y Felin nature reserve. Now our line would have come, you may be able to see the road, that bright line there, it would have come through these trees, over the road, through these trees, and it would have swept into this area here. And fortunately, the nature reserve allows us to walk along part of the trackbed. As you can see, it's very overgrown, but the first thing we see is lots and lots of ballast again. And once again, the question I have to ask is this put down purely to metal the surface for walking, or is this a remnant of the railway? It looks very clean though, doesn't it? But I don't know. Anyway, I'm walking towards the next station on the line, which was Star Crossing Halt. Not too far ahead of me, but just looking at this, and it's so pretty, isn't it? There's beautiful flowers and there's butterflies everywhere. It's really encouraging, but it looks anything but the remnants of a railway line. So a few hundred yards on from that overgrown area, we're still in the Coed y Felin nature reserve, and it's opened up quite considerably, or compared to back there. I see over here we've got some original boundary fence posts, one there, one there. You can just see them through the trees. We appear on this side to be in a bit of a cutting. You can see a pretty sheer rock face that's been cut into, but what we're actually on is like a plateau. So if I go to the edge here, now look, there's a fence post there, there's another one, and I'm not sure if you can see, but there's quite a drop down there, about 20-30 foot. So it's been cut out of the edge of the rock face, the track bed. So we're coming to the end of the nature reserve walk. Ends just here. The line, the track bed continues off in those trees, which looks quite impenetrable. So we're probably going to have to go down onto the road, which looks like here. Now, here we've got some substantial concrete or cement structures. Now, what do we have here? I think what we have here is an old occupation crossing with a foot crossing as well. So this would have been you to walk through here and over the line. Remember the track going across in front of us there. If we look this side, we've got a substantial wooden post. So you'd have had a gate on here of some description. So that's what I think that is a former occupation crossing. There doesn't appear to be any evidence of that. The gate on this side, and our line went through there. So it's back onto the road, unfortunately. This is the location of my suspected occupation crossing, and by going back in time to 1912, the map does indeed confirm that I was correct about the crossing. Now from here, travelling west, the trackbed is inaccessible for the next third of a mile until I reach the next accessible area, that of Star Crossing Halt station. The station here, built literally in the middle of nowhere, the nearest settlement being the village of Kilkine, a mile and a half to the south, was named after a nearby pub, the Star, the building of which still survives today on the Denbigh Road. It was built and subsequently opened in 1914 in response to pleas by residents of the villages of Kilkine and Rhydymwyn to have their own station, as well as the hope that it would open up the area to tourism. However, its closure in 1917, a wartime economy measure, put paid to that idea. Reopening in 1919, despite its rural isolation, Star Crossing Halt survived until the end of passenger services in the spring of 1962. I'm on the trackbed on the final approach to Star Crossing Halt, which you'll find 100, 200 yards ahead of me. I've been very, very kindly given permission to film on the site of the station by the landowner, and I'd like to offer my sincere thanks, very much appreciated for that. But before I go wandering up there and having a look, have a look at this. Now obviously it's railway related. Clearly it's not standard gauge, it's point work or a crossing of some description, made out of iron, and it's part of the remains of a narrow gauge railway or steam railway that the previous owner used to have, and he'd run it all the way from the house right up to the crossing and then back. And there's a bit more evidence of that up there. A few paces and we come to a piece of rail lying on the ground. I wonder if that was part of the original main line here, and then a very good candidate for a sleeper directly behind that. You can see that this side the bank drops down, whereas over on the upside it's like in a very shallow cutting, but we're more or less ground level, and you can see original fence posts, at least the lower ones probably are. Over here we've got some ballast that's probably been pushed up by this tree, and then if I look into the trees over here, you can see some original iron boundary fence. That's probably been there, I don't know, best part of a century, I'd imagine. So on the station site, or just before it, here's some more evidence of that narrow gauge railway that I said the previous owner used to have. And we got 2 blocks here, so this looks like it would have gone on to maybe a small turntable or something. It's a little bit out of situ there. And then we got more evidence of it here. We got 2 rails, 2 tracks, one there, and they obviously connected up with that at some point, probably so as they could change the locomotive end. So should we go and have a look on the platform? Still got the original stone support of the fencing and some metal work. Cow! Hiya, dude. So let's go and have a look on the up platform. It's in very, very good condition. And I do appreciate the landowners cleared this just for my visit, which is very much appreciated again. So we've got our platform here. I'm not quite sure. I think all of the concrete flooring, paving is original. Don't know whether this is, but it's a nice little touch as well. We've got a outstanding station sign here. That's not original, but it's been nicely kept up, you know, kept nice. And then we got a waiting shelter. Now once again, I'm not sure if that's original. Looking at the contemporary pictures, I'd say that there's a very good chance that it is. And we can have a look inside. It's had a bit of work done, which is good, because at least it's being kept going. And I'd imagine when this project is done, to tidy this up and restore it back to its former glory, it's going to look really, really good. And obviously, this being just a halt, we come to almost the end of the platform. It goes on for probably 2 or 3 feet more, and then that's somebody else's property over there. We've got, I don't know if you can see it just through the trees there, the white building. That's the former, it's either the station master or the crossing keeper's cottage, or maybe both. And then if we look down on the track bed, we've got a number of sleepers positioned there, obviously to keep the vegetation at bay. Here is a photo of what's now identified as the crossing keeper's cottage at the western end of the station. I took this a good 6 years ago, but I don't think it's changed a great deal. The track would have emerged pretty much where the driveway gates can be seen today. I'm on the down platform now. A lot more vegetated up than the upside. Is a little bit missing there, but it's pretty irrelevant. Once again, regardless of the vegetation, it's still in immaculate condition for something that was abandoned over 60 years ago. Straight away we've got the original boundary fence there, mostly intact. I was hoping there used to be like a board, maybe a timetable. You can see it in some of the older pictures, a couple of posts sticking up maybe, but I haven't really seen any evidence of that, unfortunately. And this feels a lot more realistic, working my way through woodland. This is more the style that I'm used to, although no stinging nettles, although I don't want to speak too soon. And then we come to the platform ramp back down onto the track bed, and then we take a look back at Star Crossing Halt.